Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. Make sure to hit the subscribe, like, and share buttons. Well, today we're going to talk about global government and why it's closer than most people think. Now, this is part 4 in a series we've been doing about, it's much closer than you think, talking about the implementation of new systems, technologies, events that are on the horizon, and why they are much closer in many cases than most people think. And in large part, that's because of the exponential advance of technology. So if you haven't seen those 3 videos, I encourage you to go back and watch those. You don't need to have seen those to have this video make sense. But here we're going to talk about why global government is much closer than many people think. Now, why do I say that? Well, the primary reason I say that is because of technology. Now, when you ask people, why is global government coming? They'll look around and they'll tell you all these things they observe in the world, the United Nations, cooperation, all these calls for global government, and all these various reasons. And I'm not discounting those reasons, but you rarely hear them mention technology. And to me, technology is the primary reason why I would expect to see global government, outside of the fact that, well, the Bible tells us that we're going to see global government. So that is all I need to know, is that the Bible tells us we are going to see that. But if I'm relying on my senses, my observations of the world around me, then I would look to technology and what is taking place in the advance of technological trends. And what that would tell me, what I see when I look at that, is that global government is much closer than people think, and it is inevitable because of this advancing technology. Now, why do I say that? Well, I say that because new emerging technologies will soon make MAD, or mutual assured destruction, obsolete. Now, we've been over this in some previous videos, so if you want to look at those, I encourage you to go up and do to the search bar on this channel. Just type in MAD. Some videos will come up that'll give a more in-depth explanation of that. But there are several emerging technologies that will soon make mutual assured destruction obsolete. So, what is mutual assured destruction? Well, it is this idea that two nuclear superpowers will not go to war with each other, because to do so would lead to the total annihilation of both of those superpowers and maybe the entire world. And so that acts as a deterrent, keeping them from escalating to the point that they engage in nuclear war. So that doctrine of mutual assured destruction has essentially prevented World War III since the end of World War II. So some people, because of that, think, well, mutual assured destruction, this will last forever. Nuclear superpowers, these major superpowers, will never go to war again, will never have a global war again, because everyone knows that that will end in catastrophe, maybe the extinction of the human race, so they will not go to war with each other. At least that's the conventional wisdom. But I would submit the conventional wisdom is wrong, first and foremost. Why? Well, because the Bible in Revelation 6 tells us there will be another global war. But also because when we observe the world around us, we know, well, battlefield weapons become obsolete over time. At one time, the chariot was the most feared piece of equipment on the battlefield, but it became obsolete. And the same is true of countless other pieces of battlefield equipment and war equipment over time, that they became obsolete and no longer needed. So we are going to see the same thing happen with nuclear weapons. One day, nuclear weapons will become obsolete. Now, we talked a couple of videos ago, I forget the exact title of it, but it was something like, this is exactly how it will happen, something along those lines, talking about the future of warfare being swarm drone warfare. And so that's exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about these new emerging technologies that will render MAD obsolete. And once MAD is rendered obsolete, then the way is paved wide open for that next global conflict to occur, one that is survivable, unlike the era of MAD. So what are some of these emerging technologies? Well, we've been over some of these in the past too. We've talked about artificial intelligence, and we've certainly seen that in the news lately with ChatGPT. Quantum computing, I believe, is another one of these key technologies because of the just magnitudes of processing power that will be able to leap ahead in computational processing power. Then the last of those, and the key linchpin, I believe, is the invention of molecular manufacturing. When this occurs, I think it will be a game changer, and I believe that the way the world will find out is it will be used to conquer the globe and establish global government. Now, we're going to go into some of the reasons why that will be as we talk more on in here. But, what is molecular manufacturing when we talk about that? Well, it's basically the ability to manufacture, to create complex systems or products with atomic precision, meaning every atom is in its place. And it will give human beings computerized control over the building blocks of nature, of our world, over matter. And so while this doesn't sound revolutionary, it may not sound like that big of a deal, it will be truly revolutionary to the world in which we live. It will turn the world upside down when this happens. So rather than sit here and talk about ideas of what this would look like, I wanted to give a visualization. So I pulled up this video right here. This is on YouTube. I will provide a link in the description and pin it at the top of the comments. This is 16, 17 years old. It's a pretty old video, but it is a computer simulation of what a nanofactory would look like in this process we would call molecular manufacturing. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this and give you hopefully it'll give you an idea, visualization of what we're talking about when we're talking about this technology and why it's so pivotal. So I'm going to mute my mic. Hopefully this works. I know we had some problems before with playing videos, but I'm going to mute my mic, play this, and we'll see what happens.
The first machines sort molecules by their size and shape, passing some, rejecting others. Only molecules of the right kind can enter the processing machinery. These molecules contain 4 atoms, 2 of carbon and 2 of hydrogen. The molecules bind to a device that carries them to the next stage. Then, a rotating mechanism swings tool tips into contact with the bound molecules.
Let me unmute my microphone. I started talking too quick. Keep in mind, this technology, when we're looking at what we're looking at on the screen right here, we're just looking at chemistry. This is chemical bonds taking place. So we're not talking about anything. While the molecular manufacturing will be revolutionary, there's no new laws of physics being created by what we're seeing here. This is what takes place in the natural world. Just in this instance, it's being controlled by man, by human beings who have set up these systems to direct these chemical reactions and how they occur. And that's the key to seeing why this will be so powerful. So let's watch a little bit more.
Each tip presses a molecular tool against a molecule, bonding it firmly. The tools shown here have been analyzed using advanced quantum chemistry techniques. Another tool moves in from the left to remove the hydrogen atoms, leaving a pair of carbon atoms exposed and ready to use. The tools then carry these atoms to their destination, where each pair bonds to a nanoscale building block, making a tiny bit of crystalline carbon, a bit of diamond. Motions happen quickly at this scale. This scene shows motion slowed by a factor of more than 1 million. A conveyor carries the blocks past further machines, which build the blocks step by step to full size.
So I think you get the idea by looking at this video. Now keep in mind what they just said in the narration of this, slowed by a factor of 1 million. So what we just watched, imagine this sped up 1 million-fold. And that gives you an idea of how quickly these types of reactions would be happening at the atomic level. And think of it like a giant bird flapping its wings, and think of a hummingbird flapping its wings. And the smaller you get, the more of those movements you get in a second, in a split second. So it tells you how powerful some of this stuff will be, how quickly it will be acting. Now, let's take a look at a second visualization. This is just on a web page. This is the Center for Responsible Nanotechnology. Again, this too is probably, I don't know, 15 years old or so. And here they have this example. It says, with 15,342 atoms, this parallel shaft speed reducer gear is one of the largest nanomechanical devices ever modeled in atomic detail. And again, keep in mind, we see this rotation taking place here. Speed that up many, many fold because of how small this would be in the real world. This wouldn't be visible with the naked eye by any means in the real world. But again, this is a computer simulation of what would come, but maybe this gives you an idea of the power of what we're talking about would come. So, you know, why would all of this lead to global government? Well, again, we talked about technologies that will circumvent mutual assured destruction, meaning that some country or countries would think that they could attack a nuclear power without fear of being destroyed. They think they could win that war and how that would happen. And to give you an idea of why that is, and maybe help wrap your mind around this process, I want to take a look again at this book. We've looked at this before. I wrote this book. It's called Racing Toward Armageddon, Why Advanced Technology Signals the End Times. And I'm going to read for you an excerpt from that. And this section's titled A New Threat. It says, when MAD becomes obsolete, it will end the threat of nuclear war forever. But this isn't necessarily a good thing. Why? Because a new threat will take the place of nuclear war. That new threat is an arms race between nations with post-MAD weapons. Such an arms race will be highly unstable. When it erupts into war, it will destroy the entire world. So while the threat of nuclear war will end, the threat of global destruction will not. In fact, the odds of global destruction will increase. Doesn't sound like a promising future, does it? But don't worry, as terrible as all this sounds, many people claim they already have the solution. So I wonder what that solution could be. Well, there we go, global government. What's the solution? Well, think of this. What if Germany had been the first nation to develop the atomic bomb? No doubt, Hitler would have used the bomb to drive the Allied forces from Europe. With enough bombs, he could have totally defeated the United States, England, and Russia. The Third Reich would have dominated the globe. On the other hand, the United States was the world's first nuclear power. The United States could have used its position to prevent other nations from acquiring nuclear weapons. In fact, the United States could have used its position to create an impregnable world empire. In a similar fashion, the first nation with post-MAD technologies will have the option to create its own global empire. With its first mover advantage, it could prevent other nations from developing post-MAD weapons. And with the threat of nuclear war gone forever, the path would be clear to conquer any nation on Earth. In fact, the path would be clear to conquer every nation on Earth. If this happens, the threat of a catastrophic war will disappear forever. In a post-MAD world, many people will recommend this path. They'll see only two options. One, an unstable arms race ending in global annihilation. Doesn't sound very good. Or two, global government. Now some will say there's another option, and there is. The other option is eternal cooperation among friendly nations. Is that realistic? What are the odds of an open global society based on mutual accountability and informed, educated citizens? particularly in a world of fallen, sinful mankind. Right, let me add that in there. Not so good. I'll bet on global government. Worse than that, I'll bet on global dictatorship. Faced with global destruction in a post-mad world, some will see it as the only solution. They'll freely join the new global empire. But those who don't, those nations will need to be conquered. World War III. It's hard to imagine every nation in the world willingly joining a global government. Most will choose war rather than lose their independence, and these nations won't go down without a fight. This means war will be necessary to set up a global government, and even in a post-mad world, such a war will be enormously destructive. It's quite unlikely the first nation with nanofactories and molecular manufacturing will be the only one that tried to develop them. It's safe to say many nations will have their own nanofactory development programs. Since they'll all be working at the same time to achieve this monumental breakthrough, one or more will probably have such weapons shortly after the first nation. While they won't be able to conquer the first nation, they'll still be able to inflict incredible damage. A nuclear power could also inflict incredible damage. If the first nation fails to take out the entire nuclear capability of a nuclear power, one or more of that nation's missiles could strike before it's conquered. In either case, the death toll could rival all 20th century conflicts combined. Nevertheless, efforts to resist global government will fail. A nation with today's weapons defending itself against a nation with nanofactories and molecular manufacturing will be like a small band of cavemen armed with rocks and spears trying to defeat a modern army. They won't stand a chance. Even a nation-state as small as Singapore or Monaco could quickly build a military force far more powerful than all the current world militaries combined. Think about how the world will change. During the Cold War, vast nuclear arsenals made the United States and the Soviet Union the world's lone superpowers. Likewise, the first nation with nanofactories will become the world's next dominant superpower. If it uses its advantage to take out its rivals, it could cement its superpower status forever. Is this what the first nation will do? While we'd like to think it's one of many options, reality is different. World domination won't simply be one of many options. It will be the only option. And I want to take a step back for a second and just focus on that, because I've been beating this drum for many years. People need to understand this, that this is where technology is taking us, and there's no way around it. This is going to be the only option when this is created. It says, because once MAD is obsolete, allowing a second nation to develop molecular manufacturing and artificial intelligence would be global suicide. The first nation to develop these technologies will see only one viable option: preserving its monopoly and using its power to reshape the world. In short, global empire will be the only option. Think I'm exaggerating? Vladimir Putin does not. In a September 2017 address to Russian students, he said, "The one who becomes the leader in this sphere will be ruler of the world." That emphasis there is mine, but that's exact quote of what he said, ruler of the world. Have no doubt, Putin understands the stakes. A race is on. It's a race to create nanofactories, molecular manufacturing, and advanced artificial intelligence. The second place nation gets nothing. The first place nation gets the whole world. I'm sure Putin imagines he'll win the race, but regardless of who wins, the leading nation will draw the same conclusion he did. Global government is coming. Think about that. The world is fast approaching a time when global government is certain. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. This shouldn't surprise anyone. It's exactly what the Bible foretold centuries in advance. Just a coincidence? I don't think so. Without global government, a post-MAD arms race is certain, and such an arms race will destroy the world. So whether it's for noble purposes or selfish reasons, any world leader will gladly choose global empire over global destruction. Guys, we are fast approaching this time. I don't know exactly how far off it is, but we're seeing these emerging technologies break out. We just talked about artificial intelligence and how that's in the headlines almost every day now. I believe when people learn about the existence of molecular manufacturing, it will be because it's used in the battlefield. The same way that most people learned about atomic weapons when they were used. And when this is used in the battlefield, I believe it will be used to go out and conquer the entire globe. So we're seeing a time coming when we will see this technology deployed. Now again, why is this the key piece? Well, we've talked before about artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and the power that gives to process information, to create new and discover new things. But we also talked about the future of warfare is swarm drone warfare. Swarming drones in the battlefield. How can conventional weapons stand a chance against swarms of bees and swarms of birds, all sorts of swarms controlled by artificial intelligence operating around them? They can't. You know, it'd be like you or I trying to take a firearm and shoot at a swarm of bees. Well, you might get lucky and hit a bee or two, right, with your bullet. But you're not going to stop that swarm. It's going to come get you. And the same thing is going to happen here. The reason molecular manufacturing is such a game changer is it allows the deployment of trillions and trillions of drones on the scale of bees, on the scale of grasshoppers, that can operate like a cloud covering a battlefield and take out any conventional arms, including nuclear weapons, operating even in the oceans where nuclear submarines have been the linchpin of mutual assured destruction for decades because we don't know where they are. Well, these technologies will allow us to light up the oceans, and there will be nowhere to hide for those submarines. It will allow the mechanical penetration of those systems and the disabling of those systems so that they can't be used. It will render them obsolete. And so we're fast approaching that time, and I've long said, I don't know for sure that these are the technologies that the Bible talks about when we read about, say, Revelation 6 and the global government that's coming. But what I do know is if those prophecies aren't fulfilled before these technologies mature, then the maturation of these technologies will fulfill Bible prophecy because they will demand a global government, the creation of a global government. And the Bible doesn't say anything about a global government appearing prior to the one that Daniel talks about in Daniel chapter 2, the one that will conquer the earth, the one that we read later in Daniel devours the whole earth, and that is only destroyed by the supernatural power of the Lord Jesus Christ at his second coming. So there's no reason to believe that there's multiple global governments. When this global government comes, whenever that may be and by whatever means, we have to believe that that is the global government foretold in the Bible. And what I'm saying here is, if that does not come before these technologies do, these technologies will lead to the establishment of global government. And by definition, we're going to be seeing those events play out. So I think a lot of this is coming sooner than most people think. How far soon? I don't know. You know, some of those videos we just looked at that I said, this is 16 years old, 17 years old, 15 years old, however long ago, those simulations, those computer-designed simulations. You don't see as many of those as you did 15, 16 years ago. And I have to ask, well, why? Did people lose interest? Did they think, well, this is no longer a viable technology? Or did those people get moved into government programs where they said, hey, stop putting this stuff out on the internet. You do this and it's for us. We're going to look at it. We don't want our enemies seeing this stuff. We don't want them benefiting from it. So stop putting this stuff out on the internet. That's what I think. I mean, you still see some of these types of videos appear on the internet, but there's a lot less talk about it now than there was 10, 15 years ago. And I have to believe that's because a lot of the stuff moved underground as we got closer to the viability of it. So that's an indication to me of maybe how close we are to seeing this. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm completely wrong, or do you think we're on the verge of seeing this type of thing? And again, this could be wrong. I know for sure that the Bible is correct. The Bible has a 100% track record. Britt does not have a 100% track record. I've been wrong all the time. I was wrong last year when I thought that we would see a Lehman Brothers financial crisis by November 1st. I was wrong. I think we're still going to see that crisis. I just got the timing wrong. But guys, the Bible has a 100% track record when it comes to prophecy and fulfilled prophecy. And why is that? Well, it's because it is the Word of God, and God is all-knowing. He's seen it before it happened, and so he isn't going to get it wrong. Global government is coming. I believe it's coming a lot faster than many people think, and I believe it will come suddenly. Again, as I said before, I think most people will learn about, the first time they learn about molecular manufacturing will be when they learn that the globe was just conquered by it. And they'll go, what in the world is this new technology? The same way people were caught off guard when the first atomic bomb went off in World War II. And they thought, what is this new super weapon? What does this mean for the world? I think we're going to see the same thing with molecular manufacturing. So it's getting a little bit long, so I'm going to wrap it up. But guys, leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Make sure to like and share this. And God willing, I will see you on Wednesday. Bye. If you want to learn more about the end times and Bible prophecy, make sure to sign up for my free monthly newsletter and get your copy of my free ebook, 7 Signs of the End Times. Just follow the link in the description to get your free book. Also, make sure to check out all of my books. Just look up Britt on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, Google Books, Kobo, or anywhere books are sold. Thanks for watching today, and until next time, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith.